For the newly indoctrinated, Jim Butcher's The Dresden Files follows the story of a professional wizard in Chicago. We've started our podcast as a way to help break down the series' most important moments, characters, and lore. This is McAnally's Dresden Files Pubcast by Free Flow Rambling. Conjure by it at your own risk.
Welcome to the McAnally's Pubcast, brought to you by Free Flow Rambling. This is episode 5.9, Snoop-garou. My name is Tansenn, and I am joined by Jess.
Hello, hello.
Maggie is still away today, so we have a returning guest. Jay, welcome back.
Yay, glad to be here.
Yay.
Woohoo.
So, real quick exciting news is that Jim Butcher announced he's putting out another short story.
Oh!
So exciting. It's going to be about Toot Toot. Yeah.
Our favorite fairy.
So does that mean we have to change our lineage, our linear timeline once it's released?
Probably. I don't know when it's going to be set yet, but we know it's about Toot Toot. It's coming May 2022. It's going to be part of an anthology with a bunch of other authors, so we still have to wait a little while. But it's exciting.
That is very exciting. And Toot Toot.
And Toot Toot. So yeah, that's fun. Heroic Hearts. Ogre Bridge Abutments Realty Incorporated. Let us help you to find the perfect home, focusing on quiet areas, nearby schools with a distinct lack of police presence.
Chapter 19. Dresden confronts the loup-garou amidst the chaos and carnage. Murphy attempts to take a kill shot, but has run out of bullets. Dresden uses a spell and knocks the beast through the wall out of the building, and uses a binding spell to disable MacFinn. So chapter 19. It's in the room, and then just received that stuffy.
Yeah.
And then gunfire erupts in the hallway like mad.
It's harsh.
I would think so, yeah.
Like, and it says really quickly, like, Dresden is just like, I'm exhausted. Everything hurts. I'm tired. I'm like, yeah, no shit. Like, it's been a rough day already. I mean, what? He woke up in a motel room, went streaming through a forest, and then potions and spells and magic and this bullshit.
Right, having the crap kicked out of him.
Like,
several times in the same place, too.
He's been arrested and escaped arrest.
Yeah. He got smacked in the jaw twice.
I'm still trying to figure out how he ran as fast as he did with his hands cuffed behind his back. There's a reason why they handcuff you behind your back. So you can't use your arms for balance. So it's like, okay.
Well, and they mentioned that, actually, once
yeah.
he's first
Oh, absolutely.
handcuffed.
But I mean, if you go through everything that he went through, I mean, not even judo experts can land and roll on your shoulder, never mind a shoulder you've been shot on. And now he's going to try to take on a werewolf of werewolves. So
Right. Well, he's
Wizard.
technically not cuffed anymore, so at least there's that. But he is shit-kicked.
Yeah, for real. It's a little bit of fantasy, like, well, I need him to escape, so it's happening. But also, you know, there's been that point where Dresden is just like, conceal, don't feel. Run.
Well, and he has a moment of self-doubt where he sort of goes, this is not smart for me to continue. If I am a smart wizard, I would go leave and do preparations. He says...
regroup, reheal, and then reattack. But
it's tough to beat a wizard who knows his enemy, but is prepared to deal with it. It was the smart thing to do, but I've never been known for my rational snap judgment, and decides to blow a hole in the wall.
He said that, but he also, like, followed it up with being like, I'm on my last legs. And I was like, oh boy, baby.
last leg.
Yeah.
Bitten toe and all the rest.
Yeah. Well, first of all, yeah, it's been
Not
chewed
quite
on
yet.
a little.
He's getting there.
But he's like, this is book 2. Sweetheart. You're on your last leg in book 2. I'm like, okay.
So much more coming.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so like you said, it goes through the wall like a show-off. Which is, it's super unnecessary too, because it's already been established that the werewolf put a hole in the wall. You could have just gone through that one. Like the Looney Tunes, like I think you would have fit through his hole. Like you didn't need to make your own.
Well, maybe it was a different, because he was in a different
He goes in a
office,
different direction.
and then he goes into Murphy's office to collect his things. So
maybe
it's a corner office.
he still went in through the door the first time.
So dramatic.
That's my thing. He's just a show off. He's just like, I'm so grumpy and angry right now. Fuck this wall. Like, like the structural damage isn't already an issue right now.
Just expanding Murphy's office. She'll appreciate it later.
Yeah, no shit, right?
She needs a
you're
window
welcome.
right here. Second door. It's all good.
I like how also when he went through the doorway, he's like, I sure wish I had the duster right now. Would have been so much cooler. Instead I'm in these stupid janitor scrubs. I'm like, you suck.
He loves his dramatic entrances. Right. My goodness.
All he needs now is his favorite theme song, or his music.
Literally, he just carries a boombox everywhere with him. Wait. Click.
It's awesome.
And 1 second, just mood music.
Yeah, literally. What's that? Megamind? Have you seen it, right?
Yeah, the entrance.
The villain? Yeah.
Yeah.
I just let me put on the music first. What does he say? Like, for ambiance or something like that.
That's awesome.
That'd be great.
We see a scene of carnage. Many dead, injured, and dying police. Because, as you said last episode, police are, at least in the sci-fi genre, fodder.
They are fodder.
They sure are in this episode.
Jeez, boss, thanks for the red uniform.
Literally. littered the ground of cops. It's like, yeesh. And not just bodies, but limbs.
Yeah.
And blood, ligaments.
And mayhem. It's sheer mayhem where they have Butcher writes 2 cops carrying a headless corpse away from because they're not realizing that it's a headless corpse yet.
It's just so
They're
insane.
just evacuating a buddy.
Yeah. And Michael brought up in the last time that this is the Terminator, and it is very much just like not human problems right now. Like you've got plaster and what is it called? Throat? Jugulars? Yeah. You got plaster and jugulars, like, both lining the walls and floors. It's like, oh, great. Thanks.
And blood everywhere.
Yeah. So...
I mean, what would you say about an animal or a thing that can go through cement walls, steel doors, and all the rest of the stuff, right? So
totally. Like,
you're under arrest?
And take kill shots to the head.
Yeah. And then smile.
And we said earlier that, like, we know for a fact that at least some of the cops had watched the beginning of this on the security footage and came running. So I'm sure to a certain degree a lot of them weren't aware of what was happening, but we know at least some of them were. So just to, both is horrifying. The 50% who knew that was what was happening and the 50% who don't. It's just like, fuck.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Bad day to come into the office.
Yeah, when the other person that was prepared was Murphy, right? Because I read the report.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, so he has...
So Dresden intercepts with his blasting rod, preparing to attack, but Murphy takes shots with her silver bullets and sort of distracts the loup-garou.
Right. So, today's episode... Not today's episode. The one that came out most recently. For whenever we recorded it. We were upset talking with Michael about...
So about 3 weeks
silver,
ago.
yeah, the silver earrings. This is what I'm
Yes.
trying to say. We were very hung up on Dresden describing Murphy's ears a couple of chapters
And
ago.
her poor, vulnerable, naked earlobes.
What happened to them? So, yes, now it is revealed. Murphy's silver earrings were put into some bullets. So, as you said, she did her report. She read up on her stuff.
how big are those earrings?
That's what I was saying, right?
Even a 22 caliber rifle. I mean, that's
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's wow.
My
So-
theory is that it's allowed to be an alloy as long as there's sacrificed silver in it.
Exactly, yeah. I don't think
Okay,
it has
let's
to
hope
be
so.
I don't think it has to just be the inherited silver. I don't think it even has to be majority. I don't think it even has to, like, encase
have-
it.
has to
I think
have
it
some.
just has to have the sacrificed of the fact that you gave up your inherited silver.
Okay.
So, yeah, so. But for me, that would still only mean 2 bullets. Because I think if you're, like, grinding down this earring into, like,
Well, that's why I think an
Nothing, right?
alloy, like it maybe is just like a 2%.
It does mix with lead. That's usually where you find silvers, with lead or tin or stuff like that. So
No, but my point is, like, I don't think that, like, the same intent would work if you're trying to, like, cut up a tiny little silver stud into multiple pieces. I don't think the intent would be like, oh, sure, here's 37 bullets from your...
no, but if you're saying
Silver
it's
ashes.
if you're saying it's an alloy, and she does make her own shots, she would have to melt lead to make her own shots. So you just put the silver in with the lead. When you melt it down, it's in there.
Oh, okay.
So if you just
Yeah, that's
need-
what I mean by
Originally,
alloy.
I see.
yeah. So if it's just
Okay.
just a little, a few micrograms would work out.
It might be
Okay.
that severe an allergy to inherited silver.
I don't know. That's
Who knows?
of anything else that doesn't stop the damn thing. You're thankful something does.
Yeah.
Well, and it's a weird sort of thing to stop this unstoppable beast as well. Like it's so random. Inherited silver, not
Well,
silver
thing-
that's
Yeah.
been given to you, not something that you've bought, not something that you
it's-
found.
but it can be given to you.
Well,
That's the whole thing. It's given as a gift, so given as love.
Well,
Maybe that's what the magic is, and not.
I mean,
Potentially
versus inherited from a family member versus
I could
some
too, but I mean,
person
most of
like
my
my
family-
best friend giving me it is not an inheritance.
No, but then again, that's I know a lot of my family there. They wouldn't give me a damn thing. So,
Well.
Someone gave you some chunk of silver. Maybe they are thinking about you a little bit.
Sounding a little like Marcone soon.
Here's $1. Go make something of yourself. Anyway,
Well, part of the fun, though, is that, like, all of these, like, supernatural deterrents originally started due to, like, just what we didn't understand about medicine, right? Like, garlic or silver or salt. It was all just these antibacterial things that we didn't understand, right? And we're like, we thought that we were plagued by some vampiric condition. And we're like, oh, hey, garlic really treats this. Vampires must not be able to deal with garlic, Things like that. So it's like the inherited silver is a little bit like,
well,
it's not following that same scheme,
Oh, it does. But have you ever heard of colloidal silver? It actually is an bacteria thing that you can actually ingest.
For silver, yeah.
It acts as a blood cleanser, but there's not a lot of research that I know of. But mind you, I'm not a doctor about that. But I mean, I've seen advertisements for it saying that this is the cat's ass at $300 a bottle. Drink up.
I'm okay with the silver being used because even then it would have been something back then that was more antibacterial for like tools, rather than like a lead scalpel, right? I'm sure the silver scalpel, they were like, oh shit, this works way better. But I think it was more, well, if you're cutting someone, I don't know. I was never a doctor back then. I don't know anything. Point is,
Neither were they.
fair enough. But my point is the inherited part is just, as far as I can tell, just Butcher's own thing. I can't see any other.
I guess
You know?
in that kind of a perspective, though, I guess it wouldn't make much of a difference because you're not asking for scientific rationale. It's magic.
Yes, I am.
Sorry. It's it's magic, right? So
Still though, I want a physics paper on it anyways.
So after Murphy attacks the beast with her supply of bullets that we're not really sure about,
hi ho, silver away.
the loup-garou attacks Murphy, but
To be fair,
Carmichael intercepts.
She could have had other silver jewelry. She just also gave up the earrings.
That could be
She
right
could have
too.
used all of her jewelry at home, but the silver earrings were the only one that she wore often enough for Dresden to recognize.
Right.
Potentially, I don't know.
Could be something else. You are right. So Carmichael does intercept, and he gives his life to save Murphy.
Yeah, Murphy like cowering on the ground, werewolf loup-garou towering over her, and Carmichael throws himself at the beast.
He's not
Like he just declared himself Team Dresden, but really he's Team Murphy.
Yeah.
And then
Well, what did Dresden say on that one, though? I said, like, you can always tell the look of a man who knows he's dying. So he didn't care at that point.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. At that point, he he
If
used
I'm
the last
gonna
of his
die,
strength.
I'm gonna die trying something.
Yeah.
So
And it works. It buys Murphy enough time.
I gotta say that there was just enough softening of his character right before this, like learning
Totally.
about the stuffed animals that he keeps for kids, the fact that he did, as you said, become part of Team Dresden, saying he's got a sucker for the underdog.
So I guess if we, let's backtrack a moment here and say, right before this carnage, right before Carmichael throws himself at Murphy, there is a moment when Carmichael enters with a rookie we've never met before. Right? We said this last episode. Hi, Rudolph. Nice to meet you. And one of the last things Carmichael does before all this is tells Rudolph, listen to him. If he tells you to do something, do it. About Dresden, right? So for me, if I was Rudolph, I could kind of what an introduction to a man.
Right? In the middle of carnage,
totally.
too.
This is, to be fair to Rudolph, it's not a great first meeting. We've arrested this man. Murphy thinks that he's responsible for all of this. All of your friends are dead. Anyways, listen to him now. He's on your team. Rereading Full Moon has given me a little bit more for Rudolph. It wasn't the best footing,
Yeah.
Things got off rough.
I could just imagine that if it hadn't been a little more time and a little less carnage, you would does this always happen here?
And especially because it's
welcome,
SI.
Yeah, welcome to Special Investigations. Yeah. Now you know how special it is.
So I got to pull a little bit of attention to this particular quote because, oh man, I don't know if I need to say, oh, Dresden, or oh, Butcher. Murphy slithered out from between the beast's paws and her shoulder blades and buttocks, her cute little cheerleader face set in a berserker's fury.
Now is not the time.
Awkward.
So awkward.
Oh, I just really...
Well, yeah, but that's the whole thing with Dresden, though. He's always considered her small and cute. It takes her seriously, and she's always PO'd at him. Always pissed off at him. So it's that now you have a berserker's fury on. That must be quite a juxtaposition. If you imagine, your cute little pom-pom thing, all of a sudden grabbing a chainsaw and going after something.
Fair enough, but he's only ever known her as a cop. He's never known her as a cheerleader.
No, but I mean, the whole thing is his perception of her was always being this small, cute, whatever the case. And now she's trying to be a Viking.
Seeing the rage.
Yes.
Yeah, fair enough. This is unlike any other situation we've seen thus far. So, anyways, seeing Murphy's near-death experience has Harry shaken out of his boots. Man is fizzling with energy, ready to pop off at any second. And he takes MacFinn and he throws him through the wall with some nice, wind magic, more or less. Nice force.
It's a fuego, so it was a fire spell.
Okay, that's what it was. And it got some good distance on it.
Yeah, just a little.
Went through some walls, the building,
The
next building, next block.
It's such a superhero scene.
Totally. It was like the Superman punch.
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Including the witness. So I'd looked down and said, damn.
Yeah. It was a shame, though, that Murphy, I guess that was kind of that inevitable had to happen, that she ran out of bullets when she had that clear moment of a kill shot right before he flings him out of the window. It's too bad.
So close. Could have helped.
You'd have a female heroine, boom, but then that'd be a much shorter book, and it would be a short story.
Yeah, it's true.
And,
sorry, Murphy. It's not your time to shine.
And, well, jumping ahead, and all things will be revealed later, right? So it's at that point, I think Dresden would just be in the clink.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Right.
True.
Nothing would be revealed.
Yeah.
And silver handcuffs, because you can't get out. Anyway.
The nice thing, though, about Murphy not getting that shot is that it allows Harry to do his voodoo magic. He has Rudolph retrieve that little stuffed animal off Carmichael's desk. We spoke last time, this little Snoopy doll. And so,
I love it.
What's it to the tune of?
The Peanut song.
Just the Peanut theme song? So to that, he chants out his random Latin-bounding voodoo magic on this little Snoopy doll, and effectively quiets MacFinn until morning, hopefully.
Yes. The spell is designed to bind the beast, follow its hearing, forcing its jaws shut and crippling its taloned paws. So that sort of puts a din on that.
Yeah.
Wouldn't MacFinn in the morning realize that someone had actually done that to him?
I don't think he has any awareness of it, though, because or does he?
It's 50-50, because he kind of said when he came out of the Kim thing, he's like, is she alive or is she dead or something like that, right? And it's like, because he didn't know if she survived the attack or because he doesn't remember the attack. I'm not too sure.
I think it's more of a blind fury, just so much rage that you can't see anything.
Even if he does remember, when he's MacFinn, he's a lot more like, oh, fuck, like, yes, please lock and tie me up. So I don't think he'd be angry once he came back to human.
No, but what I'm getting at, though, is if you realize something had shut you up, wouldn't you go back and try to find out who shut you up? And it's like, yeah, can you do that again?
Well, that's what happened in the first place. That's what
MacFinn wanted to be shut up.
No, but I'm saying, though, now that they actually proved that he could do it, to kind of...
Right.
Or as MacFinn got to a point where he's so blind rage or so far into the full moon cycle that it doesn't matter.
I think when he wakes up, that's not the case.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like a reset with the daybreak every time. You know, he doesn't ever... Because, I mean, at this point, MacFinn is, in his 30s or 40s? And this has been happening to him every full moon of his entire life. I think if you were going to fall into a blind rage and then never come out of it, it would have happened by now. So it's literally just, if it's not the full moon high in the sky in the middle of the night...
No, that's what I'm referring to. It's like because of that cycle. Because what is it, 4 days? You get three days for sure.
Give or take.
Yeah, 3 to 4 days of actual...
Full moon, yeah.
Full moon fever, or whatever you want to call it. And they said he fought in Vietnam, right? Mm-hmm. So he'd be in his 50s, according to this, because it's happened in the 80s. Yeah. So he'd be in his 50s or something like that.
Okay, then yeah.
Maybe not. Anyway, he's been with it for a long time.
Yes.
Yeah, I think he's probably 40s, 50s, because the time frame, that 20 years ago. I think you're right.
Yeah, this came out 2000, yeah. 2001. So yeah, anyways, the point is that I think either way, MacFinn, will want it. Obviously, he does want to be tied up and locked down and no hard feelings. That's what he wants.
No, ultimately.
But it's at the same time, too little, too late.
Yeah.
Yeah, for most of the police, anyway.
Mm-hmm. So Dresden manages to walk straight out of the police building. And once he gets out to the main entrance, Susan and Tera help him down the stairs and away from the scene.
Mm-hmm.
He's just drunk.
Yeah. There's a lot going on here. You can't really blame them all. And at the same time, some guy broke out of the prison. Let's let everyone off the property.
Well, for fair assessment, most of the guys that were in the prison were dead anyway.
SI building and whoever else was in that building. But you think at certain point, the rest of the police buildings could have set up some sort of, surrounding perimeter, right? I get it. A lot is going on. But at the same time, you think that at the very minimum, all the cops would know there was a prison break. Yeah,
that wasn't just SI, too. That's the main lockup.
Well, it is the lockup in SI.
In SI?
It is.
I thought they were saying that it was the downtown lockup. That's part
it's
of
downtown. 5th floor is SI, and they're in the SI lockup.
Okay.
They've got their own little holding cell for reasons we could not figure out last episode as to why they would be granted their own prison.
Yeah, I looked that up. It's not quite a portable like you thought. It is. Okay. It's they're on the 5th floor itself, so they do have their own floor dedicated to SI.
Okay.
They just don't have a lot of respect. That's all.
Yeah. So I guess that makes there be more cops more conveniently nearby to be killed, but also more cops more nearby to get a ground parole started.
Right. But I mean, it's just such a shocking scene.
Again, there's just so much going on, and
so much.
And I guess at the same time, if you think that a bomb is going off, because as we know now, both Harry and the werewolf are putting holes in the walls, and something just went shooting out the side of a building for another block and a half. If you think that there's bombs or something, which is what my original thing would be, a grenade or something to that effect is going off in this building. Yeah. I guess, it'd just be evacuate.
It'd be more than a grenade, but yes, seeing that a hole went all the way through several buildings and most of a block, that would be kind of...
that ground perimeter would take a minute to...
Bazooka!
Yeah, it's a little bit violent. So anyways, very heroically limps away from the scene.
And this is, again, I always appreciate how he crashes at the end of these huge scenes. He ends up sort of blacking out or just like his,
overtaxed and out of
yeah,
cold.
Totally, yep.
He has these moments where he's got so much adrenaline, and you experience with him the lack of it, the crash.
Totally. You use up all your spell slots. That's that. You take your 8 hours sleep and you take it now.
And you're done.
Mind you, the higher you climb, the farther you fall, right? So
Yeah.
if you're going to put in enough power to blow something through a block,
Well, and we'll
That's
see
a
that
lot
in
of
another.
energy.
We'll see that in another couple chapters with just what happens when you overextend yourself without thinking of the consequences. Fire and blinks. Yeah.
So we'd like to take a moment to talk about Patreon. Thank you to our Patreon subscribers for your generous support. It's people like you who help us do what we do. If you're not yet a Patreon subscriber, sign up today and get a fuck ton of bonus content, kick-ass merch, behind-the-scenes outtakes, and more. Sign up today at patreon.com/freeflowrambling. Chapter 20. Dresden finds himself in a dream which he is confronted by his subconscious. Harry goes through the current facts, his past, and how to deal with his future. He is then woken by a Tera West who lets him know that they are being followed.
hey, Harry, you ever wonder what Neo felt like with your residual self-image?
Harry can't watch movies.
Regardless if you can or you can't.
can't.
No, he goes to the drive-in.
But,
yeah.
that's where I saw the
He
main
fries
kicks.
his radio.
Oh,
though, so
wow. Maybe
was
you
a-
were with them.
No, I was with my wife.
You still could have been there together. I love Subconscious Harry. As the books will go on, if you are new to the Dresden Files and don't know, he's generally referred to as like Mirror Harry,
Ah, okay.
potentially speaking. Or maybe this isn't Mirror Harry. How do we know? Book hasn't happened yet.
I just like the fact that he's got a part of his body or subconscious like that. It's like, now that you wore yourself out, can you just shut up and listen for a bit?
Right?
See, and it's funny because I have read all of the Dresden series, but it's like as soon as we started doing this reread, I realized how much I don't remember at all. I had to actually listen to the audiobook of this section because I was so confused when it happened. Like, what is happening?
Yeah.
And the thing that got me, I'm going to read the description of him really quickly. Dresden awakens inside some kind of warehouse, a dark place with a single pool of light. He enters the circle, and so does a version of himself, only better groomed, dressed in a mantle duster of black leather, not the sturdy or stylish canvas that I wore. My doubles pants and boots and shirts were all black as well. They fit him though tailor-made, rather than off the rack. His eyes were set deep, overshadowed by severe brows, and glittering with dark intelligence. His hair was neatly cut, and his short beard he wore emphasized the long lines of his face, the high cheekbones, the straight slash of his mouth, and the angular strength of his jaw. He stood as tall as I, as long-limbed as I, but carried with him infinitely more confidence, raw knowledge, and strength. The thing that bothers me the most about that is he's dressed in leather.
Just a leather duster. Sexy Harry.
Isn't that how he dresses up a little bit later in the book?
Well, and that's what I'm going to bring up later. I am trying not to be spoilery, but it just like that's the only thing that I'm like,
How you imagine yourself. It's funny because it's like when people like say things like, why is my brain deciding this is a problem? Just decide it isn't, brain. You're the one in charge. And this is literally like Harry imagining himself as super cool and awesome. And I'm just like, bitch.
I want to think it's time traveling, Harry.
Now is it going forward or going
Listen.
back?
We'll get there, Jay. We'll get there. I have a lot of thoughts, okay? Time traveling is a huge part of the Dresden Files.
Oh.
I have a lot of proof
Am I?
that time travel happens in like all of the books. And I might be crazy, but I think it's happening.
Oh, so it's not just me thinking that it's time travel in this instance? Because it seems like time travel to me.
Listen,
Okay.
there's a lot of proof to say it is, and there's a lot of proof to say it isn't, and we're not really going to get into it until we get to the books that are more big about it. And as we get to the Demon Reach and all of that island, things are going to happen, and we're going to meet characters, and Jay, you're not there yet, and I need you to read ahead. But the point is that there's a lot of times that fans often bring up a continuity dispute in the books, and I think it's on purpose. I think it's a red herring. When something like...
Or is he manifesting?
Either or.
Yeah. See, because the time travel would be like your future self going back and say, hey, stupid. Whereas manifesting would be how you see yourself in the future, and that's how it comes to be.
Listen, we have a Merlin episode coming out eventually, talking about, all the ways in which the Merlin world and all of those different factions and creations have influenced this world. But one thing about Merlin is that it was said that he lived his life backwards. So,
Mork from Mork. Yep.
So it's just one of those more wizardly things.
Kind of easy to know what the future's going to hold if you've already been there.
True.
Yep.
And again, as occasionally we come up to these continuity errors and we're like, wait, he said this book, but in the next book he disputes it by saying this happened. Is it a continuity error, or did something happen?
Or is it like the butterfly effect where something changed his future or changed the past? So.
Either way is proof of time travel, so I'm okay.
Yeah.
We'll make note of it. We might be wrong, but we'll make note of it. So for me, I personally didn't read it as time travel when I read this one, right? Even through all my rereads, I'm like, I don't know if this is what I would count it as yet. Like, I don't know if Jim Butcher's mind was there yet. But what I did take note of is, why did Jim Butcher bring up subconscious Harry so soon? Right? Because,
because he's in the seat of a car and he's out cold. Because unconscious Harry.
Potentially, but I just think, it almost seems like one of those things that you wouldn't bring up under normal circumstances until later books. For him to be talking to his own conscience so early on in the series, it just seems really, really quick to me from what a normal...
Yes, but okay, he's also a wizard that's been trained to be a wizard, right?
Which, again, I'm okay with it. I like subconscious Harry or whomever. I enjoy this whole scene and everything like that.
Oh, it's very interesting, very.
It just, to me, not that it's out of place, but it just still seems really soon to be having this moment when he meets his subconscious. I just, based on all the other spirits of intellect or mind tricks, mind games, mind everything, this seems like he was setting the foundation a lot earlier, which is a good thing. Technically, it shows, pre-planning.
Foresight with
It shows foresight, right? Yeah. Totally. But in the same time, it also just seems so soon that I'm like, was that always the plan, or was it just happy coincidence?
I don't know. I just took it at face value, the fact that he was finally had a quieted mind. So your subconscious can actually come to the front and go, hey, if you were doing this or doing that or whatever the case, your future, your past, or your present might be a little bit different.
Tortoise wins the race.
Yeah.
So.
It really is interesting how it's set up. Like, it does proclaim to be his unconscious, which of course Harry makes fun of.
Unconscious or subconscious?
Subconscious, sorry.
Okay. Because, yeah.
Well, Harry accuses him of being his evil twin.
Yeah.
And he claims he's subconscious.
To which subconscious Harry makes fun of him back. Just
banter.
Yeah. I'm just subconscious Harry. I'm your inner voice, bub. Your intuition, your instinct, your basic animal reactions. I make your dreams, and I decide which nightmares to pop into your old psychic VCR at night. I come up with a lot of the good ideas and pass them along to you when you wake up.
Right.
So it's a little dated. VCR.
True. To be fair, VCRs was the last technology that Harry could touch. No matter what. Even if the book had been published in 2020, the last time Harry could physically handle technology, it wouldn't have been a VCR.
That makes sense.
So yeah.
Actually, no, he wouldn't, because he still screw it up. It's electric based, right?
Yes, but he was a child back then, right? And so his magic hadn't manifested, so he was still okay. By the time technology was better, he couldn't touch it.
So basically, he's still old enough to know how to program one too.
Probably, yeah. It's the last thing you ever did was record like an episode of G.I. Joe's, and then that's it. No more magic.
Oh, this is my favorite episodes.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
it's the last video of my parents' wedding.
He recorded the original Teen Wolf.
Yeah. So, subconscious Harry essentially boils down to, like, yeah, we should keep keeping secrets from Murphy. It's not her business. But also, Parrot's like, but we should train her because it's not fair what we're doing to her, letting her go out in the dark.
Oh, I took that as subconscious was telling him to say, tell her everything. Everything. And then to ask her out.
Yeah, well, yeah.
No, I think it was that he was saying don't keep secrets from her, because the more she knows, then she realizes. Well, first and foremost, you realize why Harry can't tell you everything. If you what is it, the White Council?
Yeah.
So it looks like, listen, there's a governing body that if I tell you too much, I'm in shit. And they don't care about human laws.
And she's in deep shit anyways, because if she's going to be fighting this stuff without him or not.
I guess so. Like, it's not that he wants her to keep secrets from him, but I think he acknowledges why Harry did, more or less.
Yeah.
And I still think, that there's some things that you can't go around telling everyone. But if you do decide to bring Murphy into the circle, then that's it. She's fully enshrined, has to know everything. It's not one of those, 1 foot in the doorway, 1 foot out. Either you tell her everything, you tell her nothing.
Right.
And this is kind of the, conversation that they're having between them is like, which is it? Because it's not fair to let her go up against these things and not tell her what she's going up against. But at the same time, we have to acknowledge just what that danger is going to be.
Whether it's fair or not, she's part of a special investigations, and basically she's being thrown there anyhow.
Yes and no to a degree. To a certain part, Murphy pushes and finds and prods and gets to the point. They never would have arrested a werewolf in the first place if it weren't for Murphy's extra, right? A lot of these people, like Carmichael, who wasn't really a believer, and people, it's been said before Murphy got here, SI was a rotating door.
And that's why.
Right? And that's because people don't believe. So they're not seeing the werewolf for what it is. So they're just writing it off. And you know what? Those people are living, right? Murphy and her crew ultimately died tonight because Murphy believed. That's really what happened. And I don't want to put the blame on Murphy, but at the same time, she was the one who was like, I'm 100% certain this is a werewolf. I'm 100% certain that he broke his jail cell in the basement. Now let's arrest him and bring him to our jail cell. Murphy.
Yeah.
Like,
what makes you think you're going to be hold him?
What makes you think that you're going to be better? And especially...
Just because she's got this awareness doesn't mean that she has the knowledge and the power.
And she didn't outfit the rest of her cops with inherited silver.
No, she did not.
No, she did not.
But
she didn't wait until she had time to outfit the rest of her cops with inherited silver.
Good point. That's a really
She could have waited until the next full moon, taken an entire month. There would have been no murders.
She's rash in her decisions.
Right? There wouldn't have been any murders for that entire middle month, other than the fact that we know that there were actually other murders happening. But based on this report, if you're going to believe in the runes, if you're going to believe in the inherited silver, if you're going to believe in the werewolves, then you can believe that MacFinn is not your threat until the next full moon. Take that month to build the silver bullets and focus on the other shit that's clearly happening, right? And again, I get it. That's not good for a book. These books typically happen in 3 or 4 days, right?
It's also not good for police procedure either. So just by sitting back and stuff like that?
It is, though. That happens every single day. A cop can't say that's all they're doing, but leads go for months and months and months.
They go cold. It's really hard for us to say that right now, assuming that there's no such thing as magic right now. But if you have murders on your hands, you're expected to follow. There's lots of unsolved murders and stuff like that. But if you've got leads, you're expected to follow them as soon as possible.
And she could have absolutely done that without arresting a werewolf. She could have spent the month making silver handcuffs or outfitting all the cops with silver bullets, or at least making herself have a big enough array that she can go one-on-one with it. Murphy had the information that she was willing to go. I think if you're going to believe in werewolves, and you're going to believe in all of this report that Harry built upon to at least go and make this rash decision, why not believe in it to make an unrash decision? Like, I just, again, it's not all Murphy's fault, but at the same time, you saw the torn apart jail cell in the basement, specifically built to contain him, and you know that your jail cell back at work isn't built to contain him.
Right.
I just, so
you
brought this carnage with you.
She only kind of believes, is what it seems like at this point, where she's got this sort of skeptic's doubt, even though she does read these reports. Part
of it is that Murphy is just a minor villain in this book. There's just nothing past it. Murphy is just one of the contentions that happens to be in this book. And the last one, the big villain was Victor Sells, but we also had to deal with Morgan. we also had to deal with Marconi. In this book, we've still got Marconi, only instead of Morgan, we're dealing with Murphy. It's just, a little bit of contention from every which way side, Wizard cops in the first book, real cops in the second book. And I will say, Jim Butcher has said in interviews that one of Murphy's defining traits was that she's actually afraid of big dogs. That's just like a character trait about Murphy. So that was part of something that he made about her to make her not get killed off so early in this book. It was to just give Murphy a little bit of hesitation, or else she would have died in the first chapter. She would have died just then in that hallway throwing herself at a werewolf. But part of Jim Butcher's, process is that Murphy's afraid of big dogs, so she hesitated and ended up not dying in that cop fight scene, right? Otherwise, Murphy would have gone, not Carmichael.
That's really interesting to hear. Thank you for bringing that tidbit. I like that.
So it's just something, but so I can, I'm just a little bit like, okay, she's really afraid and she just wants to get this done, but at the same time, like, girl. And if she read the report, and okay, fair enough, even Harry was a little bit slow to the draw, so I can't say that Murphy, having no magical influence, would have been able to do this all on her own what was it? It was 8 a.m. this morning, right?
That she got the
report, right? Like this, we're only going off about 12 hours here or so. Maybe a little bit later now after that whole run in the forest and whatever. But maybe we're 14 to 16 hours after she's gotten the report.
But even at that point...
Well, it's October, so the sunset hasn't happened yet, so it's probably only about...
It's less than 12 hours.
We're after...
10 to 12 hours.
We're after sunset now. Because he was trying to beat the werewolf. Yeah.
Right.
He's trying to fight... He's trying to get there before moonrise. Or whatever that would be, because
and he failed. Now we're after that point.
Yeah.
So, anyways, my point is that Murphy, she given a little bit more time, she would have realized, oh, there's a lot more than one killer. It's not just a loup-garou. We're also dealing with something else. I can put the loup-garou on the back burner until the next full moon and try and figure out what the rest is happening.
But did she know it was a loup-garou?
No,
I'm just bringing that up because you're talking about time, and.
The silver only works on the loup-garou.
Yeah, okay, but Dresden only found out about that 8 hours beforehand, that there's actually more than one werewolf.
And he went and immediately told Murphy.
Yeah, but I'm saying though is, doesn't seem to be any rationale of waiting more time because they're making snap decisions, and apparently Dresden's not the only one that makes some lousy snap decisions.
Well, yes, clearly.
Yeah, she seems to sort of like dog on a bone to get Dresden back. Like, she is so pissed off with him. Like, once that betrayal happens, like, she is.
But is it a betrayal?
Quite literal.
But is that a betrayal? Okay, she's saying like no more secrets, but you're not telling him everything either, right? There is a thing called need to know, and if he's not sure, how can he tell her something? It's like, okay, this is what I've heard, but I can't prove it. I don't have any other information. Blah, blah, blah. Now, is that responsible? If he's supposed to be
But she sees it as betrayal.
Yeah.
She sees it as betrayal, yes.
Yeah,
She sees it as a betrayal.
I personally think that Harry did everything he could in this particular situation. I think there's a lot of times when Harry doesn't, but I think as far as this book goes, Harry was actually as about forthright as he could possibly be. The only information that he didn't share was because he didn't realize it was relevant at the time, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't think that you can be held accountable for that. I mean, he wasn't in a police interrogation being asked the same question 37 different ways. Murphy asked him, like, do you have anything else? And he's like, no, I'm pretty sure that's it. And that was that. Like...
Yeah, but even when she was trying to arrest him and stuff like that, for obstruction, you can't be obstructive if you didn't know it was a necessary piece of information.
Right.
One, it'll never fly in front of a court.
And
so I don't know why she's pissed at him. But
the only argument I'd say to that is that we know that Harry had no idea what was going on, but from Murphy's point of view, she has his paperwork in her hand, so she'd be able to probably prove that he did know what was happening, even if we know that Harry was like, I don't fucking know. Because what Murphy really had was Kim's notes.
Yep.
Kim thought they were Dresden's notes. And so Dresden is like, what the fuck is happening right now?
Yeah.
And, having that moment after he's arrested and sitting in the cop car, and he's like, oh.
Still, burden of proof is on the arresting officer or on the arrest. If you don't have Loctite and stuff like that, you can't hold someone and make up a story.
Well, technically, they didn't even have time to hold him because he ran away.
No, granted.
Which is an admission of guilt.
I'm pretty sure you can hold up to 24 hours?
Nope.
Not at all?
Not unless they say 72 hours, but you have to actually provide them with a lawyer.
Yeah, they have to ask, though. they have to specify and ask.
No, they don't.
In America.
You have the right to remain silent. You
have a right to an attorney. You have a right
without delay. That's the other part of that.
So I've said this before, though. Like, I watch interrogations, and cops are allowed to ignore your first request.
They're not.
And you have to be very, very clear, because otherwise cops can prove, oh, it wasn't so clear, we didn't realize. They can argue in court that it wasn't a clear ask.
That's a bullshit statement. If any lawyer, so the public defender with assault would actually be able to get you off on that. Now, there's a lot of...
I've just seen in interrogations, like, cops will make you ask 2 or 3 times before they actually are like, oh, okay, fine.
Well, the thing is, though, if you're reading your Miranda rights, and you're supposed to be reading them, not referring to them, you're supposed to read off that little card that you have.
Yeah.
It says, without delay.
Yeah, interesting.
So, it's like, you come down to the station, I said, not before I get a public defender.
Yeah.
But yeah, 72 hours. But you're supposed to have a public defender.
So whatever. Basically, the two of them agree that they did what they could for Murph in this instance, and it's not their fault, but that they're the only ones who can solve it. Anyways.
So then Harry's subconscious next addresses the image of Susan. Harry is clearly worried that the only thing Susan sees in him is what she can get for a story. And that's what his worries seem to be. Otherwise, the subconscious wouldn't be bringing this up.
I don't know. I think it's along the lines of he doesn't want to look too closely in their relationship because he might find something that they could have a reason to not have the relationship.
Well, and it comes into, like, I think which it flows really closely with the next thing that Harry's subconscious brings up, which is
Elaine. His first love. His everything. And here's, actually, I really wanted to bring up a quick point. So as the subconscious is naming Murphy, Susan, Elaine, their images are appearing. And you've got Murphy as this beaten, battered, on the ground, crying woman. You've got Susan in her
Latin goddess,
You've got, and then you got Elaine as like this perfect, still in time 19-year-old, like cut off jeans, wearing Harry's old shirt, just like radiant. And like, I suppose each of these images could be the way Harry has seen them all most recently. And that's why the subconscious is showing them in the way that he is.
Or the most...
not showing them all necessarily as their most powerful or as their best, but just as the most recent, most immediate times that he's seen the woman. However, Harry was 16 when he had his fight with Justin. Elaine was also 16, and now he's imagining her as 19?
Oh, I didn't realize that. I didn't make that connection.
So, yeah, that's my thing. Like, have you just aged her in your mind as you've grown? Or... Or is this time-traveling Harry who's seen a more recent version of Elaine? I don't know. I don't think it's that. But it was just like for him to be imagining, Murphy as this, in this horrible, horrible position when you could have just had, stock photo Murphy and you've decided to do her weakest moment ever, covered in carnage. Mm-hmm. And then you've got Susan here as this Latin goddess, and then you've got Elaine here as this beautiful, radiant, our first love, will never change, will never be taken, It's just a little bit like...
Or the vision that was most impressed upon him about each person. Because Elaine never got older, obviously, because he lost her when she was young.
But she's 16 and he's imagining her as 19.
Yeah.
Or typo. That's the thing.
Maybe it's just a typo.
Okay. Well, whatever. But, Susan is the Latin goddess and blah, 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 blah. And his most recent or most impression of Murphy is just what happened.
Well, exactly. But even if that's just all it is, I'm just like a little bit like, fuck you, Harry, bitch.
Looking at everybody at their weakest or like their...
Even just like if like this is your most impressionable moment, And to be fair, all of these women, or at least Susan and Murphy, get bigger moments as the books continue, Mm-hmm. So it's fair to say, sure, in 2 books, maybe they don't have amazing imagery yet, but still, I'm just like, Harry, bitch.
Well, he still fights with his subconscious in that way, I think. That, or his subconscious and him sort of still agree about women and his awkward sort of 25-year-oldness.
Idiocy.
Is that what his age is, right? Well,
yeah.
He's about 25?
About 25.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Because I didn't see that in any of the books there. I wasn't paying too much attention to.
Yeah, it's...
Other than his physicality and his training, his age wasn't something that came up.
Yeah, he sounds like he's a lot older, but no, he's
quite young. He's seen a lot more than most people.
Yeah.
And maybe that's exactly why he sees these women as that, is because
he's still a bit of a derpy.
Well, I mean, I
don't know. His opinion on women seems to be a lot more young than old. A little bit more of a young, like,
I must be a chivalrous man.
Yeah, and everyone else is standing around him like, just shut the fuck up, nice guy. Tipping your fedora, milady. Shut up.
So Harry's subconscious calls him out on still holding himself responsible for Elaine and Justin, and how it constantly affects his behavior and colors everything that he does.
Gee, you figure.
Well, and...
really? Someone just had possessed your girlfriend and turned her into a monster, and then you had to murder somebody.
Well, his subconscious sounds a lot like a therapist, though. Like he basically goes through all the things that you should stop shooting on yourself.
How does that
all
make
the
you
things,
feel?
Yeah, you don't like. Yeah, there's a lot of things you should have done. You should have done this. You should have done that, but you can't now because it's in the past. So you need to look to the future. Look to the future. Which is very therapy, so not that I have much experience with therapy.
Here, take these.
Leave and never return.
But he does. He sounds like a therapist.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's a little bit of subconscious, like, coddling, too. Like, we all tell ourselves, like, well, there's nothing I could do. I did the best I could. Like, a little bit of that in our heads. It's like, even when we're guilty, it's like, but what really would I have done, And just coddle yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
You do that? Okay.
I do, yeah.
Well, he's very hard on himself in general, so it's nice that it's really refreshing that his subconscious is as
even just a
gentle.
little bit, like, yeah. Especially because this is, for all intents and purposes, evil Harry. I mean, he's got a trim goatee.
He wears leather and he's got a goatee. He's clearly evil.
Dark eyes. Yes. Yes, he's got the wax mustache twirling on endlessly.
So, how do you like me now?
In the mind, the mustache never has to end.
Wow.
So the subconscious is imploring Harry to just think for a moment, and as we were just saying, realize that all of these bodies could not have been MacFinn. And he does this, like, quick, like, the bodies are starting to pile up, and it's like, yeah. In the last chapter, we just, like, doubled, tripled the bodies. Like, in the last few full moons, we've had, like, I think 11 or 12 bodies with Kim Delaney. And then we go to the police station, there's another...
massacre.
2 dozen, like,
yeah.
It doesn't say exactly, but, like, yeah, these bodies suddenly just jumped up that scale.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, well, yeah, carnage, as we've said.
Harry's subconscious questions that he's been trusting Tera West. He goes over some facts that it's possible Tera that could have been involved in the murders with the help of the Alphas. He flip-flops, though. Like, his subconscious sort of goes... Your intuition is telling Tera wouldn't be the killer because of her love for MacFinn and how she sacrificed herself for the escape. But at first
she's been there the whole time.
Yeah. So it's like his subconscious can't decide on whether she's an enemy or a friend.
Yeah, and I think it's totally fair that it is both Harry and the subconscious that are like,
Did he do a soul gaze on Tera by this point?
He couldn't.
He couldn't. He tried and failed.
No, but that's exactly what I was getting at. And that's what he was kind of going like, okay,
non-human.
That's not exactly a human trait.
Yeah.
She has no soul.
That's the main reason for his distrust of her.
Yeah.
Harry's subconscious decides that Harry hasn't actually met the killers yet or hasn't picked them up, quote, picked them out from the background, which I thought was kind of an interesting point, that it's not just like that he hasn't met them, that he just hasn't figured out who it is yet. So it sort of leads the reader to kind of go, who else is there?
There's a whole lot of people in there.
So his subconscious sort of kind of goes to this future place where he's reminding him of all the things that Dresden has forgotten. Number one being that he's pissed off a number of people, which include Marcone, the police, and the street wolves.
Among numerous other people in his past.
Yeah, plus the long list of enemies that have been slowly getting into line for years now.
Should have Bob keep a list. Bob, who have I pissed off this week?
The grocery boy threatened to kill you. Pizza delivery guy.
He wants his radio back.
Yeah.
So I really liked how the subconscious image of Harry goes through past, present, and future. And that Dresden himself makes fun of this, that he's like, are you going to see, am I going to see an image of Ghost Harry future? And he kind of literally does.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Harry past, present, and future.
I think subconscious Harry tries to push himself away from being Dresden. He's like, oh, you're so funny, you've got the banter, that's why you get to be the one controlling the meat suit. But like, at the same time, like, subconscious Harry is still Harry. Like, Harry's like, you're gonna show me the ghosts of my past, present, and future? And subconscious Harry's like, yeah, I'm you. If you want ghosts, you're gonna get ghosts.
Ta-da! Here you go.
Yeah.
Let me rattle that chain.
Totally. And I want to throw in as well, the subconscious Harry also brought up the Venatori Umbreon.
Yes.
So this is super, super important to note because, Jay, as you'll read in the series, there is the Venatori and there is a Venatori Umbreon. And there is a distinction. So subconscious Harry brings up Venatori Umbreon, which is more or less a society that we learned about during Anastasia Lucio's short story, A Fistful of Warlocks.
Yeah.
So
they're a shadow society, I take it?
More or less, exactly. Yeah, it's not necessarily supernatural participants though, like just regular mortals are a part of it, but who are in the know of the supernatural. And as well as supernatural beings can be a part of as well, and they're all working to essentially squash.
Is this the one the deputy was the...
Yes.
Okay.
So this is the one that Deputy
Wyatt Earp
was a part of, as well as Doc Holliday and all sorts of other fun cowboy loves of history. As well as many others, and, you know, it comes up again throughout the series, so we won't get too big into it right now. But point is that Harry is aware that they exist already. So
I didn't make that connection. I should have, because we just did that one too.
Just spoke about it.
We just did it.
Did you listen to our podcast, Jay? I bet you didn't. Yeah.
We'll get there.
Michael and Andreas listened to it. My guests listened to the podcast.
Mine don't. Damn it. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, my guess.
You're lucky I just read the book.
It's true. It's true. I mean, I'm still happy.
We appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
So the last thing that the subconscious starts to address is his mother, which I was like, yeah, and no, because he gets woken up.
Quite frankly, subconscious Harry was a total lore dump, honestly. He's like, we're going to talk about Elaine, we're going to bring up the Venatori, we're going to talk about your mom, bye.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is also Chauncey. We're going to talk about your mom, nope, bye.
Again,
It's kind of funny. Everyone keeps yanking the rug out from under him. We're like...
Well, no, Chauncey didn't try to yank the rug out under him. He tried to put his head in a noose and kick him down the stairs. So
Same. Point is, every time Margaret Le Fay gets brought up, they're all like, nope. Join us next episode.
That's her name? Margaret Le Fay? Like Morgan Le Fay? Morgan the Fairy. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okay. Uh-huh.
That's a little bit of a spoilerish, though. We haven't actually learned that yet.
Well, and that has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with King Arthur.
Yeah.
Because his sister was Morgan Le Fay. I mean, she was half fairy.
Don't worry, we'll get into her name later. But her name is Margaret.
Okay.
Margaret Dresden. Maybe. Were they married? Yeah, she was married. Yeah, they were married.
Huh?
Confirmed. Marriage happened. Margaret Dresden.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right. Okay. So Tera West has woken up Dresden to let him know that they're being followed in Susan's car. And that's how the chapter concludes. Mm-hmm. This concludes our episode 5.9, Snoop-garou. Thank you for listening. Jay, thank you for being part of our lovely adventures. You can find us online at freeflowrambling.com and McAnally's.ca. There we have links to other podcasts, social media, and other fun tidbits. Please subscribe if you like what you're hearing, and please consider supporting us through Patreon to keep the magic alive and to see more content. We are Free Flow Rambling. Conjure at it by your own risk.